Hey guys, Midget here, bringing you another Walking Dead video review. Today we're reviewing episode 4 of season 2 and it's called Cherokee. This episode was nothing special in my opinion, it was kind of boring in fact, there was absolutely nothing extraordinary about this episode. You could have missed it and it doesn't affect the storyline in any way possible, like no one re-enters, no one dies, no one says anything, and I'm not all about the action, it's just literally this episode was pretty pointless. Even more pointless than the last one I think I said, or the second one, I don't know, or, it does nothing except just a tiny bit of character development, but you could simply miss that out, and put more in the next episode. So, it starts off with, showing the landscape around the farm for the first time, and just before I tell you now, because I couldn't think of the highlights of this episode. So this episode video might be a bit shorter than usual because there's not much of my notes because I didn't find it interesting, therefore I didn't write it down because it wasn't a highlight. But it's showing the landscape of the farm for the first time, for example their barn, which is, I know that it's going to be a very good, it's going to be a main point in the future, in the season 2 because I've watched it already. But they show the landscape for the first time in the group with some new people. We obviously know the new people we saw at the start is Beth. She is a very, good character and she's still in season 4. But we see for the first time, and they're putting up Otis's grave, and Otis's funeral, and Hershel's like the main man, like the priest sort of, and he's saying Otis was a good man and stuff like that, and they get Shane to like talk for him, since Shane was with him during his last moment. It's kind of awkward for Shane because, Shane's guilty of killing him because he practically killed him, Shane did, they could have got out alive, I presume, but he shot him, he left him for dead, so therefore, it's kind of awkward, and he lied, so, if you're a believer and you're at someone's funeral and you die, you're not going to take that very well, to be honest, are you? And later on where, Rick and his group are making a plan on what they're going to do next. Hershel's like, I don't appreciate carrying weapons on my property, and Andrea and Shane sort of get a bit mad, well not mad, but they don't want to do that rule, but Rick sticks up for Hershel because basically he saved his kid and he's saying we're guests here, we'll do what he says, basically that's what he said, and and Shane talks to Laurie about what does he talk about? Carl, and she thanks him for saving Carl, practically almost saving Carl, because without him he'd most likely die, so she thanks him for that, and Glenn and Maggie go on a pharmacy run, but it changes to the well where, T-Dog's pumping the well, and Dale looks in, he's a bit, traumatized, and just about when T-Dog drinks it, he spills it, he knocks it out of his hand, and, he tells him not to drink it, and then we know that something's in the well because he was already traumatized, he knocked him out of the hand, so we're just waiting for what it is. Then all the group get together and see this massive fat walker in there, in the well. So it's going to be pretty hard to take him out. But after a little debate, they decide to put Glenn in as live bait. And while they're lowering him down, the pump breaks off, and Glenn's battling for his life pretty much. With the walker, he's trying to pull him out. Pull him down, the walker, and Glenn's, kicking him and everything to let him out, and finally he gets out, and he's being sarcastic and everything, you're okay, speak for yourself, and stuff like that, so, the walker grabs the rope finally, because that's what they wanted to do. Instead of putting him down, they wanted the walker to grab the rope, so he finally grabs the rope, but it changes straight to Daryl, who sees the house, and, he gets his crossbow ready. He storms the house, and he sees a little sign of Sophia. We don't know if it was her, but there was some sort of, bed type thing in the house, there was a little cushion and a little blanket, so it could have been Sophia. But I wanted to say, because later on in the next couple of seasons, or even in this season, it might have been in definitely season 3, I think it was in season 3, sorry, because Merle said something, he hid out in a house in the woods, and he said he was not far from some house. Therefore, it could have been that house, and you know how Daryl's looking for Sophia. He could have found Merle if Merle was there, because I was planning on making a video about this, but then there's not enough evidence. All we know is that Merle said that he was at a house nearby some house, and obviously there's a house nearby a house, so Merle could have been there, so Daryl could have potentially seen his brother for the first time, and yet we don't know what he looks like. Oh yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Sorry. But Daryl storms the house and doesn't find Sophia, obviously, and then Daryl finds the Cherokee rose, you know, lying there, so he picks it up, and the group pull out the walker, and just about as they pull out the walker, it splits in two, and half it falls back into the well, and you know, they get a bit angry and say, and shut off the, you know, that well, and Maggie's like, what we're gonna do with that walker? So T-Dog just goes completely ham and says we should have shot it, like he insisted, basically, first. But Shane talks to Andrea, you know, about, you know, the guns. Does he feel it's okay, basically? And Maggie and Glenn finally go to the pharmacy, and you know, Glenn does that thing that, well, gets the thing that you know, Laurie wanted, which is a pregnancy test, and he gets laid, luckily, I guess, because what he does is, like, you know, Maggie finds him, I guess, you know, looking at the feminine thing, so he picks up a bunch of condoms, and then, you know, it's kind of awkward, but she goes, I'll have sex with you, so I guess it's okay, and Glenn got a bit lucky, but from there, their relationship started to blossom, which is not good, because I wanted Maggie. I'm kidding. Well, I'm not kidding, but, you know, whatever. So Daryl goes back into the caravan and gives Carol the Cherokee rose, and says it's a sign of hope and strength. And Daryl is this, like, weird character. He's very nice, you know, but he acts like a hard man and talks like a hard man, you know, like, uses strong language, you know, he's got a hard outer shell, but we know that it breaks down later on in the next couple of seasons, like in season 4. He's basically Rick's bum buddy, if you want to call it that way. But the final thing that happens in the episode is Laurie takes the pregnancy test. You know, it's positive, and that's how it ends. So I'll give this episode a 6 out of 10. Because it's a pretty dull and boring episode. There's nothing special in it. There were a few highlights, for example, Daryl's story, the walker, the sex, and the pregnancy test, but it was nothing amazing. But on a positive note, there was a bit of character development from Daryl, and, you know, so it's quite cool, and quite a bit from Shane too, you know, so it's all okay, you know, it sort of equals out, but I still don't like the episode. You know, I think they could have practically just missed it out, and we wouldn't have known a thing, you know, we wouldn't have cared, you know, it would have just gone straight, you know, it would have been normal, so it wouldn't have changed the thing in the whole series overall. So, you know, that's why I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10, but yeah, so I told you this episode was going to be quite short because I couldn't find enough highlights. But yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed this episode, guys. If you did, make sure to give it a like. And so yeah, this is Midget, and I'm going to see you guys next time.